What's up, gamers? You got TigerChainsaw, and today I'm gonna be reviewing a game that I can barely say the name of. That's gonna be Call of Cthulhu, and believe me, I had to look up a video of how to actually say this word, and there's 4 or 5 different ways of saying it, so that's the way I'm gonna say it for this review. But anyway, this game came out in 2018 for the Xbox One, and it really interested me with its artwork and style, and I wanted to see how it would unfold H.P. Lovecraft's story. So that's going to be the review for today. Now, if this is your first time on my channel, or if you just haven't yet, make sure you hit that sub button because I've got tons of video game reviews on this channel, ranging from games from the 80s all the way to present day. So hit that sub button to help this channel grow. All right, let's dive deep into this mystery fantasy game and see what's good about it or what's bad about it. Just in time for Halloween, developer Cyanide and publisher Focus Home Interactive teamed up and released Call of Cthulhu on October 30th, 2018 for the Xbox One and PS4. The interactive game is based on H.P. Lovecraft's 1928 short story, The Call of Cthulhu. Today I'll be reviewing the game on the Xbox One, as it was a free game for Xbox Gold members, back when that was a thing. Let's go ahead and start off with the plot of this game, but be warned, spoilers are ahead. Call of Cthulhu stars private investigator Edward Pierce, who has fallen on hard times. He's a functioning alcoholic who drowns his sorrows in whiskey and sleeping pills. Down on his luck and facing expulsion from the agency that he represents, Pierce takes on a mysterious case from the father of a deceased woman. The man presenting the case claims that his daughter, Sarah Hawkins, a renowned painter, has been murdered. As it stands, the police say that the fire that burned Sarah, her husband, and her son to death was an accident. Pierce travels to the dingy, foggy coast town of Darkwater to start his investigation. Darkwater is not a place you want to visit. It's been hit hard by the fall of whaling. It served as a hub for whalers in the 1800s, but now in the late 1920s, with the outlawing of whaling, the town has fallen into shambles. Pierce investigates the Hawkins mansion, discovering numerous signs of cults, devil worshipping, and signs of tension between Sarah and her husband Charles. Searching the mansion, Pierce discovers tunnels underground that are filled with mangled bodies of whales, sharks, octopuses, and other fish. Pierce sees a vision of Charles Hawkins as a mutated man with octopus features like tentacles and his face turning red with coral. He then passes out and wakes up in a mental institution under the care of Dr. Fuller. It's here that Pierce starts to put together the pieces together, realizing that Sarah Hawkins' paintings are acting as portals to another dimension. One of these paintings is called the Shambler. The monster in this painting stalks the people who have viewed it. Pierce manages to escape the Institute and discovers that most of the town is in the cult that worships an entity called the Leviathan. And again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that. The Leviathan came to Darkwater after 3 prominent members of Darkwater killed a large whale and dragged it back to the town to feed everyone. The Leviathan comes in the form of a strange sea creature that is devoured by the cultists, giving them visions. Pierce continues to work on the case and discovers that Sarah Hawkins is alive and at the bottom of the mental institution. He breaks in and rescues her from her husband, who was hiding her from the cult. The cult wanted to use her for the powers that her paintings have. Now, all of this nonsense is just too much for Pierce to swallow, and he starts to show signs of breaking. He sees the Shambler and speaks to the Leviathan. Now, I had some options throughout my Call of Cthulhu playthrough on how I wanted to interact with NPCs. And these choices, my dialogue options, affected the outcome of the game. The climax of Call of Cthulhu came as the cult is working on summoning a sea monster with Sarah Hawkins behind it. You'll be able to choose a few different options, but in my game, I refused to believe most of the nonsense and focused on reality. Sarah Hawkins kills herself, and Pierce is seen after the credits back in his office in Boston, sitting alone. That was my ending, but the others include Pierce struggling with the events and foreshadows a suicide. Another portrays Pierce in a mental cell being treated for his insanity. And in the last ending, you can actually summon the sea monster as it sends everyone into a killing frenzy. Gameplay, if you want to call it that, was a rare instance during my playthrough of Call of Cthulhu. The game has been described as a role-playing survival horror game, but I'd say it's more like an interactive game with decision-making centered as the main focus. It's a walking simulator, and as Pierce, you'll walk around the town and buildings searching for clues. But these clues are not hard to find. They're very obvious and alert you to their presence with a glowing icon. The game opens with a strange intro that has you play a small portion of a level that you'll play later on. I liked the setting of my Boston office and the detective agency, but sadly, you're only there for 5 minutes of the entire game. It's too bad because I think it would have been really cool and added a nice layer to the game with the ability to accept other small cases and use your office as the hub. Right away, I could tell that Pierce was an alcoholic and that there were plenty of chances to drink booze in the game, but I chose not to partake in any drinking during my playthrough, fearing that it would compromise the sanity of Pierce. That is probably the only time in my life that I have chose not to drink. You can earn character points by completing chapters and finding clues. Using the points that you have earned can build skills for Pierce. Some options include his strength, investigation skills, medical knowledge, cult knowledge, ability to influence others, and the psychology of investigations. It all determines on how you want to progress through the game. I love leveling up characters, and I enjoyed picking up points and choosing what skills to use them on. With each chapter completed, you'll be met with a small diary of what just happened while the next chapter loads. Unfortunately, the loading times take forever. I was surprised because at one point I went to use the bathroom, get a drink, and play with my cat to come back to find that the chapter was still loading the next level of Call of Cthulhu. Character animations are not as polished as they should be, and you'll notice some textures are a little rough around the edges. The animations are average, but for some reason the fingers and hands of people don't look natural to me when I played this game. The fingers just seem to move too much, like floppy french fries. There's not a ton of skill involved in this game. You mostly just walk around from room to room, finding clues and advancing to the next part of the game. Even when you are given a gun near the end of the game, there's no aiming or skill. Just push the trigger, and if your gun is pointed anywhere near your target, they will die. For the game being a horror game, there weren't many scares. I think it would have freaked me out if I was maybe in middle school, but don't expect the spookiness from Silent Hill or Resident Evil. This is more like a PG-13 movie with some horror elements. There was one time that I do recall that I was a little frightened, and it was halfway through the game when you have a lantern and you need to navigate the dimensional portals while the Shambler may or may not be loose in the dark. Now that was a good scare, but other than that, Call of Cthulhu offered few moments of panic for me. Alright, let's get to the finale. This just had way too much buildup for my taste. When I was walking to the ritual, I literally couldn't go more than a few feet without being interrupted by a vision of a character telling me how important my choice is and how it's my destiny. The payoff of the game was almost nothing. You are met with a few seconds of Sarah Hawkins reacting to your decision, the credits, and then a few more seconds of what happened to Edward Pierce. The story is interesting and has a small window to capture your imagination, but the gameplay requires no skill and the puzzles are solved within minutes. If you are into interactive video games with minimal action and dialogue choices, then this game is for you. If you prefer anything else, it's probably best to move on or just play the first chapter to see if you'd be interested. Call of Cthulhu scores a 6.8 out of 10, making this an average game. So that's my review of Call of Cthulhu from 2018 that I played on the Xbox One. I would love to hear from gamers that really enjoyed this game, or for gamers that were wondering if they should play this or not. What's your perspective of this game after watching my review? Let me know in the comments below. While you're there, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel to watch tons of video game reviews. In fact, if you love the Game Boy, I just released a review on Ultra Golf, so go check that out after this. Gamers, thanks for watching, and make sure you play a video game today.